This is the Scorer to Follow podcast.
Welcome to a Scorer to Follow special podcast. We are back and we're doing a special look at the top six of the Premier League and the run-ins that they are going to be facing shortly. We're recording this on Good Friday, 14th of April. I'm sat opposite Dan Laundy as always.
Hello, happy Easter.
And to my right is Mark Annals.
Hello.
And I'll level with you lads. Before we get into the nitty gritty, it's Good Friday and I've eaten 4 hot cross buns today. What's your hot cross bun game like?
I don't like hot cross buns.
Oh no!
I tried one earlier. They got an awful flavour.
What do you like? You don't like much, do you?
See, I
These lots of words.
That silence was
that doesn't happen often.
No.
That's an ice cream van. Do you like ice cream?
I like chocolate milk.
Oh, that's fair enough. Yeah, he does it.
It's your match of the day theme as well. It's very topical.
Very topical.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad I paid for that to drive past.
Let's get him in the next pod.
I've been asking everyone all week, well, about 3 people all week, do you prefer hot cross buns or Easter eggs? I'm assuming your answer, Dan, will be Easter eggs.
They're both crap, really. Yeah, Easter egg over hot cross bun.
What do you reckon, Mark?
It's a difficult one actually. I do like hot cross buns, but I think Easter eggs. I would say.
I'm the only one going for hot cross buns. I prefer them. I do.
Bread.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of bread though. Generally speaking, I like a lot of bread. So, and
80s sitcom box set.
Oh, absolutely! I've got the the hen that was on the on the table of the end credits. This is a wonderfully niche reference that's going to go over the heads of pretty much everybody.
To be fair, no, I think you've had a lot of luck with Easter eggs. I remember one time when you took an old Easter egg out of the fridge, went to bite into it, and the whole thing just exploded in your hands and went everywhere on the floor into a million pieces.
I was very drunk that day, if I remember rightly. It was quite an amusing incident. Okay, well that's a preamble, but let's talk about the top 6 run-ins. We've got Chelsea, we've got Spurs, we've got Liverpool, we've got Man City, we've got Man United, we've got Arsenal. All of your top 6 needs boxed to be discussed. Let's go straight on to Chelsea. I'm just going to read out the fixtures they've got left, and then we'll just sort of discuss what we think is a likely points total and position. So they've got United away on Sunday, then Southampton at home 10 days later because they're in the Cup semi-final. Everton away the following week, Middlesbrough at home, West Brom away, Watford at home, and then they finish up with Sunderland at home. Just looking at that, Dan, it's one where the first 3 fixtures you feel United, Southampton, and Everton. I mean, Chelsea are running out of hurdles to clear, but if they clear those, then you feel they're home and hosed, really.
We touched on it before. I think in one of the earlier pods you said they're champions elect already, really.
Yeah, I think so,
and I think even despite Spurs keeping up the pace, I think they still are. And you have to look at those last 4 fixtures really, and think that they're all extremely winnable games. Even though I know West Brom this season are a tough fixture away from home, particularly. But
They've got 40 points now.
Exactly, they've fallen on that cliff now. They've gone over the edge of that cliff, and I think Chelsea will see it through comfortably.
What do you reckon, Mark?
I think it's going to be a monumental collapse, really, from Chelsea to let Tottenham back in there. I mean, I think Tottenham will get a lot of points between now and the end of the season, but I don't see Chelsea losing those amount of points for Tottenham to overhaul them. So. Set a
7-point gap at this stage in proceedings is looking very much like you say. I think it's a bit of a coronation. I didn't want to almost touch on Chelsea that much really because I know it's a top 6 running, but it would take something fairly monumental for them to blow it. And they've looked since they went to that back 3, since they got beat at Arsenal. I mean, I know they've lost 1 or 2 games, notably to Spurs, but they've looked fairly comfortable and they've always managed to pick themselves up.
And I think they've risen to the pressure each time. Obviously, with Spurs destroying Watford last weekend, really sort of ramping up the pressure, or at least trying to show that they're still in the game. And then for Chelsea to to pretty comfortably dispatch of Bournemouth, which has been a tough fixture for a lot of the bigger sides that have gone there this year. I think they've answered every question. I think, didn't we all think that City, the home game against City, might be an opportunity, because if they slipped up there and they still had United to come, Everton to come, maybe there'd be a crack. But I think winning that closed the door.
It could be interesting, Mark, I suppose, just to play devil's advocate slightly. If Spurs play Bournemouth first tomorrow, as we're recording this on the Friday, if they posted a decent score against Bournemouth at home, you'd expect them to win. Chelsea don't play till the Sunday, so that's sort of 24 hours where Spurs are within 4 points, and going to Old Trafford isn't easy. United have only lost there, I think, the once this season. So there's an argument to say that potentially they could feel a bit of pressure.
Well, absolutely. I think if Tottenham do get 3 points against Bournemouth, which I thoroughly expect them to, you've got to say Chelsea, you've got to wait until the Sunday, and against Manchester United it won't be an easy game.
Especially after the stick Mourinho got.
Yeah, and just obviously Mourinho. Obviously old team as well like that. But
he's lost to them twice this season. You get the feeling that he'll be doing everything in his power to make sure that's not 3 in a row.
Yeah. But I think Chelsea will get the 3 points in that one anyway. I do. I think it'll be a tight game, but I do fancy just how the form Chelsea are on. Obviously minus the Crystal Palace game. But I think they'll have enough.
Well, obviously, tearing up the division anyway. So.
Yeah, I think that, bearing in mind United are draw specialists at the moment, I can't see past the draw. I think it'll be a draw.
I've gone for a draw as well. We will talk about that when we talk about United's fixtures as well. But in terms of what happens from their perspective, but yeah, I think a draw, especially coming off the back of a Europa League game, is quite likely. But just to wrap up on Chelsea then, didn't want to spend too long on them because I think it's a done deal. I have got them to. I haven't put them down to lose any of their last 7 games. I've got them down to take 17 points with 5 wins and 2 draws. And I think they'll end up on 92 points, which is actually pretty impressive. I can't recall the last time somebody breached 90 points for a while. So,
bearing in mind we didn't collude on this at all. And that's the first one that we've read out. We haven't previously discussed before going live to the show. I also have Chelsea picking up 17 points and finishing 92. On 92.
Oh, I wonder if you've got them to draw the same games then. So I've said they'll draw at United and Everton.
Yep, all the others are wins.
That's just worrying, isn't it? Yeah. So what have you got them down for?
Well, I think they will only drop 2 points. I think they'll win all their games, but there will be a draw against West Brom.
West Brom, it's tough away.
West Brom away. Okay. So I think that they get a draw in that one, but win all the rest. So they would finish with 94 points.
Wow. I mean, to be honest, whichever way you look at it, they are probably headed for a 90-plus point season, which I'm sure a team has done it since. The last time I can actually remember a team doing it is Chelsea when Mourinho was manager. I think 05-06.
I don't know if they've got that many then. There was not 86 points.
Oh, they might have slacked off to the end. So they definitely one of the Mourinho seasons. It might have been the previous one. They definitely breached 90 points, but you don't see teams do it too often, and you've got to take your hat off to them if they do it. Obviously.
Well, I was going to say, I know you don't want to touch on Chelsea too long because obviously the other clubs have perhaps got a little bit more to fight for in terms of making sure they finish in that top 4.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to say with Chelsea that are they being given enough credit for the season they've had? Because whether it's because it's Conte's first season bedding in, but he didn't come with sort of all the glitz and glamour perhaps that a Mourinho does, even though he obviously was a great coach, done well at the Juve and Italy. But do you think Chelsea get the credit, or because no one really talks about them in the same way they did when Mourinho's team was steamroller opposition?
Yeah, I suppose they sort of have just been quietly getting on with the job now, haven't they? I think there was quite a lot of praise when they went on that 14-game winning run, but I think perhaps people after that, I think in the back of my mind I did, certainly sort of almost switched off to the possibility of them not being champions. I know there was like a slight talk when they obviously lost to Palace and Spurs beat them earlier, but so I think it's almost a case of people are just saying it's more of the same.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I would say.
So that's Chelsea. So we've all got them breaching 90 points and winning the league at a fair distance. I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, Spurs. let's let the resident Spurs fan talk first, Dan. Spurs. Well, I'll read out the fixtures though. So Bournemouth at home tomorrow. Then you got the cup as well, and then Palace away, Arsenal at home at the end of April, West Ham away, Manchester United at home, and then you finish off with 2 away fixtures: away at Leicester and away at Hull.
I think Spurs have got a really tough job on their hands to finish the season. I know Mark's just said he thinks Spurs will pick up quite a lot of points, but I look at those fixtures, and although it's an impossible league to call this year, Palace away suddenly looks difficult. Leicester away suddenly looks very difficult. You know what you're going to get with a North London derby. That could go either way, form or take form back out the window. Manchester United, I know Spurs beat them comfortably last year, but again, difficult to call it. Probably end up being a draw. So I'd say that on paper, the only games you feel you could put your mortgage on Spurs winning are probably Bournemouth and maybe Hull. And even West Ham away. I mean, it's not been a fortress by any means, has it, London Stadium? But West Ham away, the two clubs don't really have a great relationship.
Yeah, it's a bit of a spicy derby, isn't it? It's a sort of a forgotten derby, that one, isn't it?
I think
so. Everyone concentrates on the North London one, but
so I think it's a really tough finish for Spurs, and I think in my predictions, I think I've actually got Spurs to draw a good half of the games they've got left, and I think that'll be increasingly likely once it's evident that Chelsea aren't going to fall away, and Spurs might end up doing a bit like what they did last year. You know, once the league's gone, perhaps their heads will go a little bit.
It's hard. It depends on. I think it depends on what your players are focusing on, because I mean they'll obviously say they want to win the league, but I mean I think that part of the reason that Liverpool had the mid-season wobble that we did is because we wanted to win the league and it slipped away. And once it slipped away, I think it's quite hard for players to refocus their efforts and say we've got to get this top 4. But I think it's too late in the season for that to happen to Spurs from my perspective. I think they'll just carry on picking up points. But
it's a similar point to last year, though, isn't it? Because Spurs slipped up against West Brom, and then from there on in,
I
think they had the win at Stoke, and everyone thought they could still win the league. And then they followed that 4-0 win at Stoke up, I think, with a draw at home to West Brom, and then it all fell apart from there. Now, I know the mentality of the club will have got better because the players feel they're part of it now.
Well, they've been there, sort of done that now. You think that, we can't let, if we get in this position again, we can't, this has happened before, but we can't let that happen again.
Hopefully.
So, yeah.
I mean, let's let the Arsenal fan talk about where he thinks Spurs are going to finish.
No, absolutely, Mark. Go on.
As much as it kills me to say, I think you're being a little bit too hard on Spurs with the amount of points they're going to get. I reckon that the only points they're going to drop is against United, which will be a draw, and I think they'll win the rest of their games. You already touched on it, the way they blew Watford away, and Watford are a bit of a strange team. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but they've got some decent players there, but just no match for Tottenham at all. So.
The home fixtures, just because of the run we've had, are certainly...
And you've been brilliant at home.
A chance of winning those, but you still have to bear in mind that of all the clubs that could come and ruin the unbeaten season at a White Hart Lane party, you wouldn't surprise you if it was Arsenal, would it?
But not on the form we're on at the moment.
No, I mean it's a good opportunity for us to put 6 past you, to be honest. But I don't think that'll happen.
If we don't get our act together. No, I think you'll beat us 2-1.
I've got 2-1.
I've gone for a draw in that one, to be honest. I haven't said the score. I think Spurs. Actually, the United game, I think Spurs will win. But I think they'll draw with Arsenal. I'll put down to draw with Palace and actually Hull, because Hull seem to be really good at home now since Silva's come in, and I've got them down to lose at Leicester.
I've got a draw. I think I've got a draw at Leicester and a draw at Palace. I've also gone for a draw at West Ham. So I think Spurs again will just be undone by the fact that I think if you look at the table, we've lost less than anybody else. But again, we've just had 2 or 3 too many draws.
I think what might work in your favour this season, I mean, it doesn't help you at all, but the fact that Chelsea are quite a way ahead, there's sort of less pressure on you to actually get the result. So I think you'll just go, you'll go about your business and you'll do what you need to do. But ultimately, it won't be enough because Chelsea have obviously got that lead.
And conversely, there's more pressure on Chelsea. I mean, I expect Chelsea to deal with that pressure, but I think Mark's right. There's not a huge amount of expectations heaped on Spurs in the terms of winning the league, but they are obviously the closest.
Because last season you could have overhauled them. But this it doesn't look likely at all this season. Just because, like I say, Chelsea are that far ahead.
If we assume that Spurs, like Chelsea now, there are shoo-ins for the Champions League, it'd be interesting to see next season. Obviously, Spurs are supposed to be playing at Wembley. Quite like the idea that all of our games are played at Wembley, except the Champions League games, which they moved to another stadium just for.
What are they going to do about that? Because obviously
it'll all be at Wembley, won't it? But
of course it will.
Have to be.
I was just thinking it'd be quite funny if they went, all your Premier League home games are going to be at Wembley, but your Champions League games you're going to play in, I don't know,
Colchester.
So stupid.
They are road.
Beneficial actually, because we suffer there, don't we? But anyway, so. Points? What are we thinking?
Yeah, to sum up, 12 points. So I've got 3 wins, 3 draws and a defeat, and total points 80, which puts Spurs in a very healthy second place, albeit 12 off of Chelsea. But
well, I've gone for, I think Tottenham will, like I said, they're going to win all their games apart from United one. So that would be 19 points. So
I'd be amazed if that happened.
It's 87.
87 points, I think they were.
Well, if we ran it that close, I'd be a very proud man.
That would be close.
Whereas actually, I've not got them running that close. I think, like I say, they'll trip up on a few more draws. I've got them getting 15 more points between now and the end of the season, and finishing second, but on 83 points.
Feels like we've got a broad spectrum of opinions there. I've gone slightly negative, you've gone sort of neutral, and Mark's gone slightly positive, which is weird considering your 2 allegiances. I'm not quite sure how that's worked.
It's almost like we're both trying to use sort of reverse psychology. So, okay. So if we assume that those 2 are pretty much Champions League shoo-ins, and
I think so. Now I'll do Liverpool, and I might as well start talking about Liverpool. So 7 fixtures left. Sunday is West Brom away. Then Crystal Palace at home the following week, Watford away, Southampton at home, West Ham away, and then Middlesbrough at home. Considering these are all sort of the teams that we slip up against traditionally, you'd forgive me for saying no points, but I haven't gone that negative. I think we'll win a couple of those. I think we'll draw a couple of those, and I think we might only lose 1. So that's, I mean, it's going to be interesting with the Palace and the Southampton at home, because those are 2 sorts of games. Palace obviously in great form, Southampton always a tricky side to play. 2 teams that we sort of traditionally have maybe struggled against in the league although we did beat Palace actually. But we all seem to struggle against them at home. I don't think we've beaten them at home for like 3 seasons. So, and they obviously won at Chelsea and beat Arsenal. So it wouldn't surprise me if we drop points there. Watford's always a hard one to call. You don't know what Watford's side's going to turn up. I've said we'll win it, and I've said we'll beat Southampton as well and draw with West Ham. And you just hope that you're going to have too much for Middlesbrough. So the only one I've gone for as a defeat is actually on Sunday against West Brom. I sort of could see what happened to Arsenal happening to Liverpool, because they're not brilliant at set pieces either, and we might get bullied out of it. But having said that, if they're metaphorically on the beach, we might have half a chance. What do you reckon, Mark?
Well, again, I've gone for quite positive. I think that you'll draw against West Brom. But I think you'll win the rest of your games. I've gone for
I like it.
3 of them by the odd goal. So
Yeah.
I think you'll have some tight games there. Palace, Watford, and Southampton. I think it'll be by the odd goal. But yeah, I think West Ham is a bit of a, it could go either way and that. But I think they are safe, aren't they? So, I don't think
very good team on that.
And they've lost perhaps their best player, Antonio.
Yeah, he always scores against us actually. So I was quite glad to see him out.
And I think Middlesbrough will just be down by then anyway, so I don't think they're not paying for anything apart from a bit of pride, but I think they have too much for them.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose one thing that really helps is, and actually doesn't apply to any of the other teams in this, is that Liverpool are just playing a game a week. So that, I mean, I know the teams in the Cup have only got that one extra game to consider, but it does still then mean that other games get moved into midweek, and you've got kind of all sorts of. There's quite, just looking at the fixtures actually, just to digress for a minute. There's kind of some quite weird ones. There's one game being played on a Thursday. There's at least 2 on a Friday as well, and then the teams playing on the Friday, then playing on the Monday as well. So
Suspect Sky's had something to do with that.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Well, it's just fitting all in, isn't it?
It's obviously with the FA Cup
Yeah.
and some of the other rescheduled ones from earlier in the season. I think United have to play Southampton still because they couldn't play them at the time or something.
Yeah, I think a lot of them have been rearranged for the week, like midweek before the last weekend
that's true.
of the season. So,
but anyway, sorry, I've digressed slightly. Dan, your thoughts on Liverpool?
It's difficult to call Liverpool because, as was probably summed up by their performance at Stoke last weekend, 1 minute they can be losing 1-0 to Stoke, and you can look at that result and not necessarily be that surprised by it. But then you can see Liverpool turn it around in the second half as they did with the 2 really good goals, and you can look at that and also not be surprised by that result either.
Yeah.
They're just that sort of club at the moment. So
Anything's possible.
I've got to be honest, out of the top 6, I've got them picking up the least amount of points between now and the end of the season than any others, although they do have 1 to 2 fixtures less than most other clubs, so perhaps that's not a surprise.
Yeah.
I still have them getting enough points to make the final Champions League place. I think they'll get the playoff spot in 4th. I've got them finishing on 77 points.
Fair enough. I've also got them 4th on 74 points. Probably gone slightly negative there, but 3 wins, 2 draws and a defeat, which doesn't sound that negative, but perhaps it is a bit. But 74 and 4th.
I think it's because you've obviously played one more game. Then it doesn't sound a lot. But I've also gone for, I think it's only going to be enough for 4th. But 79 points.
79. And that's mad to think that that's only enough for 4th.
I think Mark's been exceptionally positive for every side.
See what he's like for Arsenal.
Yeah.
I was going to make a point. I've completely forgotten what it was now. That was the only thing I was going to say. Brilliant radio there. But the only thing I was going to say about them having played more games is that it's true, but I think where Liverpool have got slightly fortunate, possibly, is that a lot of the games in hand seem to be against each other.
Yeah.
So, for example, City and United is City versus United is one of the games in hand.
Yeah.
So Liverpool don't lose out of that situation. I think Spurs and United's another one, obviously.
I think it's the old adage, though, isn't it? It's because Liverpool could obviously be caught by both the sides below them, but it's having the points on the board rather than trying to play catch up.
Yeah.
Because although they could do it, I'd much rather be in Liverpool's position of having them already.
Yeah.
Because the way this year has gone, neither of those sides that are behind you, the United and Arsenal, you can't be confident if you're their fans that you're going to pull those points in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think that's fair.
It's actually well in the sort of the remaining 6 to 8 games, isn't it? It's like the teams currently in the top 6. There are quite a few games between them.
I'm sure that doesn't happen that often.
No, I don't know.
No, I mean you've got Spurs playing Arsenal, Spurs playing United, United playing City,
United and Chelsea.
Chelsea. So there's quite a lot going on. But let's move on to City. They're on 61 at the moment, and just turn over the page. So their fixtures tomorrow: Southampton away. Then they've got the cup as well, and then that 27th of April. That's the Thursday game, which is against United at home. Then a couple of days later, Middlesbrough away, Palace at home, Leicester at home, West Brom at home, 3 home games in a row, and they finish with Watford away. So again, it's one where they've probably got 2 tricky fixtures at the beginning. Southampton away is never easy, and United at home is obviously a tough game. And then Borough, Palace. I mean, Palace might be saved by that point. Leicester at home with not much to play for, and same with West Brom. And Watford away. So I can see them sort of winning all of those last games. It's just those first two possibly where they might have a slight bounce. But I actually haven't. I don't think they're going to lose any of those last 7 games.
I've got them picking up more points than anybody else in the top 6 between now and the end of the season. On their day, they are incredible going forward.
It's just a defence, though. Sometimes
Pep can sort that out over the summer. And don't get me wrong, I don't think defending anywhere has ever been his strong set. I mean, I think the fact that you're at Barca and Bayern, I think this is the job that will find him out, whether or not he can adapt as a coach. But I certainly, from an attacking point of view, I think they've got enough to pick up the majority of points that they've got left this season. I've still only got them finishing 3rd. I was a bit worried when I saw the amount of points I'd given them. I thought, I wonder how close to Spurs they're going to be. And I've got them within 3, so I've got City finishing 3rd, but I've got them on 80 points.
That's quite high, yeah. What have you got down, Mark?
I'm sort of noticing a bit of a pattern here of my predictions here because all City's games,
everyone's winning again.
Everybody, I've backed them to win every game apart from one, which will give them enough for 80 points. I think the only game their slip up will be the one this weekend against Southampton. I think it'll be a draw, but I think all the rest, I think they'll have enough to get 3 points.
You think they'll win the Manchester derby then?
I think they will, yeah.
Being
at home as well, I think they will, yeah.
That's an interesting derby in terms of United will have keep playing midweek because that's a midweek fixture coming off the back of a Europa League game. But then City will also have played Arsenal in the Cup on the Saturday or the Sunday.
Oh, yeah,
I
true.
forget which. So it's an interesting. I've got that one down for a draw. I've got that and Southampton down for a draw, and I've thrown in a rogue draw, West Brom at home. It's easily one they could easily win, but I've just gone for them to draw one of those games, just because, like you said, they are a bit suspect at the back.
West Brom seem to be the party poopers at the moment, aren't they? In our predictions.
Yeah, they're beating us. They're drawing with City at home, and they haven't got anything to play for. So. I've got 15 points, 4 wins and 3 draws, and 76 points, which gets them 3rd. I think you're right, and I wonder as well. I've got a sneaking feeling they might win the cup, but obviously, I mean that's there's 4 strong sides left in the competition, so it could be any one of those.
They won't be beating us.
That could be Arsenal's last.
So I'll save it. That'll be our saving grace,
couldn't it? It could be the way it goes that Arsenal save their energies for the cup game.
Could be.
But,
it's interesting that you've got City finishing 3rd on 76.
Yeah,
I've got Liverpool in 4th on 77.
Yeah,
I've got a much higher sort of scope of points necessary to finish.
Yeah, I think you've gone for more wins. I think I've played it safe with some of these predictions, especially the ones that are like the derbies, and gone for draws.
I'm leaning more towards what you're saying because I think it's too easy to look at the top clubs and think on paper they're bound to win that and that. Yeah. Whereas actually this season's been far from that.
Chelsea aside, and even they've obviously had their moments, it's quite hard to predict, especially in these big games now. I think City, like you said, the football they play, they're quite well equipped for the big games, but it depends on whether United can also obviously go somewhere and sort of park the bus to a certain extent, which they did against us and a couple of other sides, and so they could grind out another draw. When Southampton away is, like you said, Mark, I think it's always a tricky game, so I think they might drop points in a couple of those, but I think it'll be enough to see them through. Personally, probably in 3rd.
Yeah, they might nick 2nd. I wouldn't be overly surprised. I know Mark said about Spurs not wanting that to happen again, but I could see them if they got on a run, because Spurs have got some tricky fixtures by comparison. I think it's possible that those two could swap places.
So I was just going to say it could pan out like that, but I think the difference is Tottenham have got a hugely better defence.
Who'd have thought we'd ever say that?
Yeah, I know. So I think that's why you were finished 2nd, because City are always, they can concede quite a lot of goals.
Yeah.
So Yeah. I think that's Tottenham's saving grace. They got.
There's always a rogue one that could go in late or something.
Yeah, true.
You know, in terms of they could just concede one late on. I think was it Middlesbrough or somebody? I think it was Middlesbrough. They played at home this season. They absolutely dominated the game. Should have been out of sight. And
City.
Drawing one.
Martin de Roon scored.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Late header.
Yeah. So that can happen, and that you feel that's less likely to happen to Spurs. I also think the points on the board thing comes into play a bit. I mean, I think I'm right in saying that City and Spurs have played the same amount of games, and City are 6 points off, or 7. I think they're on 61, and Spurs are on 68. So you feel like City probably, especially with the cup, you feel like City will probably be like, well, we'll just get in the top 4. We don't want to start replaying catch up all the time with Spurs.
I think if City had a game in hand or get 2 games in hand, so it could be a different story. But the fact you played the same amount of games and there's like that quite a bit of a gap. I think you're enough.
I think so. Manchester United, who have got the most games left to play with 8. Chelsea at home on Sunday, Burnley away the following week. Then that game with City in midweek. Swansea at home, Arsenal away, Tottenham away, Southampton away. That's 3 quite tough aways on the bounce, actually.
Tricky.
And then they finish with Palace at home. So, it's an interesting one. You've also got to consider they've got Europa League fixtures in between all of that.
And I think they have to win that.
I think United, in some ways, United are the most interesting team left in the top 6 in terms of the fact that they are very soon going to have to make a decision about whether or not they prioritise the Europa League. And I think that decision comes after Sunday. I think if they don't win on Sunday, it's definitely not impossible for them to qualify via the league, but you think, well, they look at it and think, well, there's too many teams in our way. Like, why should we try and do it this route when there's actually a simpler route of doing it, where it's beating Anderlecht, getting to the semi-finals. The teams left in that competition are no great shakes, and United should win it.
Yeah, although on paper, the English sides, if you take the 2 big Spanish sides and Bayern Munich out of the equation, English sides for the money and the squad sizes they've got probably should be doing a lot better in Europe, full stop.
Well, that's a different conversation, but
I don't think it's any guarantee that putting all the eggs in that basket, topical. I don't necessarily know if that's wise, because I mean certainly clubs like, I think Lyon are still in there. I think Celta Vigo might still be in there. They're sides that can trip them up. And with the squad they've got, I do feel like they can still fight on both fronts.
But I mean, if it was Spurs and you were in that position and you thought, well, I've got to make this choice. I mean, you look at the teams ahead of you, and they can drop points, and you've still got to play City, but you've got those 3 tough aways: Arsenal, Spurs, and Southampton in the last week of the season. By which time you could conceivably be in the Europa League final. I mean, Mark, it probably is a choice in the end, isn't it? And it's probably going to be made quite soon, I think.
Well, I think it has to be, but I think they're going to be disappointed at the result they had last night, isn't they? Obviously, letting a
it was only a 1-1, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but still back them.
That was away when they've got the away goal.
Comfortably the better side last night, weren't they?
Yeah, I didn't watch the game, but
they were comfortably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But yeah, either way though, isn't it? It's going to be a case that if they win the Europa League, they're getting the Champions League.
Yeah.
If they go for it in the league, then I mean, yeah, it is a tough one. I mean, I would no Mourinho. I would think he's probably more inclined to go to win the Europa League and get a trophy and get in the Champions League that way.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that for a second. But I think the only point I'm sort of trying to make is with the squad depth that they've got, I don't see there being any problem. Certainly, perhaps in the second leg against Anderlecht, skittling their way to the final almost with 2 home legs and maybe a couple of away draws. Yeah. I think they might make the final of the Europa League by default, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to the other clubs left in, but if the draw's kind, I think they could make the final quite comfortably.
I think so. I think they should.
Therefore, I think there's no harm in them still throwing in the key players in the Premier League, because I still think that even United's reserve 11 would probably see them over the line in the Europa League anyway, should they get to the final.
Yeah.
I do think though that if you're playing midweek constantly and they've got this midweek against City, I think it might start taking its toll. And they've also got the midweek before the end of the season.
Even with the squad depth they've got.
I've got a great squad, and they have got a lot of depth. So if any, they are the best equipped team to do it. But I just think sometimes no matter how deep your squad is, the amount of games will eventually catch up with you. That's just my thoughts. With those tough games, they've got a couple of easy-ish homes. Swansea at home should be okay. You'd feel they beat Palace at home, and I've actually backed them to beat Burnley away as well, because I think Burnley are winding down a bit for the end of the season. But just to took at the points total, I've gone for them to lose 2, draw 3, and win 2, I think. No, win 3, sorry. So that's 11 points, and they're actually ending up finishing in 6th on 68 points for my money, which now means that they're probably going to win all 8 and win the Europa League as well. And they're not winning the league. But that's what I've gone down for.
The only games I've got them tripping up in are draws, because, as I said earlier, they've been draw specialists primarily, haven't they?
I think that might see them. I think that might be as well. It's almost like the death by 1,000 cuts, isn't it?
Yes.
It's draw, and you think, let's just go for the Europa League.
Because they're still unbeaten in 19 games or whatever it is.
Only lost 3 games all season.
Yeah.
But
I was drawn to far too many.
I was surprised to actually when I had a look earlier. They've got the joint most of drawing games in the Premier League with Middlesbrough.
Have they?
Yeah. Both drawn 12 games this season, and no one else has drawn.
That's a lot of
anymore.
games.
Yeah.
Because I know particularly they've drawn a lot at Old Trafford, haven't they? Which is always a surprise when United aren't winning games at home.
Yeah.
I've got them finishing 5th as well. Sorry, Mark. For what it's worth, I do have them losing at Arsenal. But aside from that, I've got them finishing 5th on 72 points, and I've got them getting 15 points between now and the end of the year. But that includes draws in the big games with Chelsea and City and Spurs actually, and then getting beaten by your lot. But that aside, I think I'll be honest. Again, when I tallied the points up with them, and I know we've got to touch on Arsenal last, but I've got it very close, and it's so close that one result could make a difference. Mm-hmm. So I think either side could still finish 5th, but I think they're both out of reach of 4th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've gone for United to finish in 5th as well, as much as that hurts me to say that. On 71 points, I've got them to win 4, draw 2, and lose 2. I can see. Well, I think they're going to. Well, we've already obviously touched on it. With I reckon that they're going to lose against Chelsea and lose against City. They get draws against Arsenal and Tottenham, but they will win their other 4 games.
Just as a note, the 2 games I've actually backed them to lose are against Spurs and Southampton. I think that last week might just trip them up, but I think it might be one of those where the winning run goes on, well, not the winning run, sorry, the unbeaten run goes on for a while, and everyone goes, can they get to the end of the season, and then just before the end of the season they lose.
Perhaps just with the Europa League final sort of looming into view.
I'm very much thinking along those lines. So so I've actually got them to finish 6th, but I have got it close. So Arsenal, last team to talk about. Actually, Arsenal got 8 fixtures as well, I think.
Yeah.
So sorry, so Arsenal got Middlesbrough away on Monday. Then they've got the cup game with City. Then they've got Leicester at home, Spurs away, United at home. This is where it's all a bit mad. I think you've got something like 5 games in like 2 days or something. So you've got United at home, Southampton away, Stoke away, Sunderland at home, and finish with Everton at home. I can see them finishing positively. I know people always go, they'll strike out for 4th. It may be a bit much this time, but I can see them. Certainly those last 2 games I can see them winning, and in fact the only I seem to have backed Southampton quite a lot here, because I've backed them to beat Arsenal as well, backed them to lose to us, so now I expect the other way around to happen.
How didn't Saints get in the top 4 then?
I've actually got them down as winning the league with 104 points. Yeah, I think I think there might be draws in the big games because I still get the feeling that Arsenal it's one of those funny games with Spurs where no matter how poor Arsenal have been away, you kind of back them to go away to Spurs and dig something out just because they're Arsenal and they find a way and they're sort of, without wanting to be mean to you, they're sort of the senior partner in that draw, even though currently they're obviously trailing by quite some distance, and I don't expect them to make that up. And United at home as well, I've got a feeling they might draw that. But yeah, I think they'll finish reasonably well, but I don't think it'll be enough.
I've gone for a less than confident win in the North London derby because I think Spurs should have done it last year. And then there was that weird patch where the rain came down and Sanchez scored a pretty weak equaliser, really.
Yeah,
Lloris should have kept it out.
Yeah.
But Spurs probably should have won that game. And I think this year, depending on how the next few weeks go, I think Spurs should win that. It wouldn't surprise me, obviously, if it turned out the other way or a draw. It's just one of those games I think it's hard to call. That aside, I think the only other game I've got Arsenal down to get beaten in is Stoke away. It's just the sort of game where, again, I can see a Ryan Shawcross header.
Is that on a Tuesday night, is it?
Yeah. No, I think it's on a weekend, actually.
But the thing is, I don't know whether it's a myth that Arsenal go to these places and lose. But
well, I don't think... My reasoning for them not to lose that, I've said they'll draw it, is because I don't think Stoke are that sort of team anymore. I think when
might be right.
When we turned up, I mean, like, when we played them... Obviously, last week we'll play West Brom this week. I think West Brom very much are that sort of team.
Yeah.
Tony
Pulis. So
it's a funny connection there, isn't it? I don't think Stoke are. I think they sort of are caught between two stools. I don't think they quite know what they want to be. They want to be this football inside or lump balls up to crouching Shawcross.
Well, that seems to work better for them at the moment than playing with the sort of Arnautovic's and Shaqiri's.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think they'll draw that. But anyway, Mark, the Arsenal fan.
Go on, 8 wins?
No, I haven't been as confident here.
That's a surprise.
Surprising, yeah.
Well, I'll see after seeing
after
the Palace game.
After recent form, I don't blame you.
I think that our home form will dig us out of a hole a little bit here. It won't be obviously enough to get 5th place. I think we were finishing 6th. I think against Middlesbrough on Monday, I do worry about that, but Middlesbrough don't score goals.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get a nervy win there.
I think you'll win that. They're last. They're not.
Yeah.
I think they're relegation candidates.
Yeah. And I think that saying about a home form, I think we'll get a narrow win against Leicester at home. We'll beat Sunderland and we'll have a narrow win against Everton last game of the season. But I think that we will. I thought as much as it hates me to say it, I think Tottenham will beat Arsenal, especially with Harry Kane coming back. Not that you struggle without him, but
no.
But he does like a guy against us, doesn't he? So I think I've gone for that's the only one we will lose, but I think we would draw against United, Southampton, and Stoke. And that points tally will be only enough for us to finish in 6th with 69 points.
That's exactly the same points tally I've got, but I've actually got them finishing 5th because I've got United getting 68. But yeah, and I think I've gone win against Middlesbrough and Leicester, Sunderland and Everton, draws against Spurs, United and Stoke, and defeat away at the champions-elect Southampton.
Mm.
So you've got United and Arsenal finishing the other way round to everyone else?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got Arsenal in 6th, and again, I promised that just worked out by virtue of I did it fairly. I didn't actually make them 6th, but it's so close that I've got Arsenal on 70 and United 72. But like I say, that could be, or that actually does rest on the fact that I've got Arsenal beating United at the moment to keep it that close.
Come down to in the end.
But if United won that, then I'd actually have a 5-point gap. But that gap, the divide between Man United and Arsenal, comes down to what form Arsenal can cobble together in the next 6 weeks.
I still think there's a reasonable chance they end on a high, but whatever the contract situation, probably depends on the cup as well. If they can beat City, then
you never know. But
with the cup final, that gives us that almost galvanises them a bit, and I think gets them to have a bit of a go towards the end of the season.
Is there? Perhaps I should know this rather than asking you, but is there a Spurs equivalent that we will or could have for St Totteringham's Day? Because I don't think it's going to happen this year, and I'm kind of hoping Spurs have something.
There you go, 14th of April, he's on record saying it's not going to happen.
Finally, I think...
When it happens on the 21st of May.
Is there a 14-point gap at the moment? If it happens now, I quit.
Well, you said...
Just give up, just take up Crown Green Bowls. It's not going to get... It's not going to ever happen.
You've certainly had enough years to think of a day.
A good 20.
Yeah, so...
I believe.
I've been pending for a few, but yeah, maybe we'll see.
I think, and like I say, Spurs have got a tough run now. I think there's fixtures over at Manning, but I think it will finally happen this year.
There's no doubt.
Trying to be confident about that. It's hard with the Tottenham Arsenal thing because they always seem to find a way. But
yeah, Tottenham could lose the rest of their games.
Do you know what? I think that.
I don't think that would happen in a million years, but you never know.
Could all start on a slippery slope if Spurs don't actually turn up against Bournemouth, because we're all making the assumption that Spurs are going to beat Bournemouth and suck Chelsea back in for another day.
But it's no guarantee. Wins are given. No, Bournemouth are a decent side, but I just think Spurs will have too much for them.
Neil, this is boring for Neil Mundy.
I don't know why I'm yawning.
There's nothing to talk about on this grey Easter Friday.
There's plenty to talk about. It's just the high altitude. We're upstairs. That means there's less air, and excellent. Well, I think that's covered that, gents. Did anyone want to talk about anybody else? I know Everton are on 54 points, and I feel a bit harsh not mentioning them, but I didn't want to do a top 7 because it's an odd number.
I did do a prediction of that.
Let's do their thing.
Only because they're currently on the same amount of points.
Yeah, no.
Obviously, they've played 2 more games, but with all their games, their results only gets them 7th with 64 points.
I'm just looking at it. They've got Chelsea at home and Arsenal away.
Yeah.
The rest of those games are quite winnable. So
well, I've gone those 2 you've just mentioned. I've got them to lose both of those.
Yeah.
Get a draw against Watford, but the rest I've gone for wins. But
yeah, Burnley, West Ham, and Swansea. You feel like they probably will take about 10 to 12 points from that set of fixtures.
Since you were talking about Everton, a guy at work said yesterday, an Arsenal fan. He actually hopes Arsenal finish behind Everton because it will just compound things and it will make something happen.
I don't think things
wouldn't be in
compounding,
Europe whatsoever, would we, if we finished in 7th?
I don't think
I
things
don't know if
need...
it would go down. Actually, it might do.
No, I'm not
but
sure.
You'd end up qualifying for the Europa League in sort of late June, early July or something, and you don't want that.
No.
I don't think things
we need to win the cup, wouldn't we, to actually get out of Europe after that, wouldn't we?
Well, that's what I say. I don't know, because depending on...
Well, United have already won the League Cup. Does that place go anywhere?
Oh yeah, because that Europa League place then goes into the league.
I don't think it goes to Southampton, does it, as the finalists?
No, not like the FA Cup.
We're just trying to work things out on it.
Yeah, no, actually, in the FA Cup final, do the losers, if the winners are already in Europe?
Yes, that's how it normally works.
Run outside, yeah,
but we're already all going to be in Europe by the looks of things. All the final 4 are all already going to be in there, so I think the extra place will go into the league. Which,
listen, nobody knows what's going to happen.
Well,
somebody might end up in the Intertoto Cup.
I'm really hopeful it's Arsenal, because I would find it funny.
I mean, considering I don't think it's run as a competition since about 1998, I think that would be a remarkable. It'd probably be a reason to give Wenger a contract extension.
The Intertoto Cup's got nothing but horrific memories for me, because Spurs played some German side, I can't remember who it was, it might have been Cologne, and I think Alan Pardew played for us on the day, was drafted in, and we got battered. This is a good 20 years ago, so the thought of the Intertoto Cup just makes me shudder.
You could always enter the auto windscreen shield.
You'd have a chance in that.
Oh,
they might do, but
getting in ahead of the.
But it'd be a lot of teams, putting men behind the ball and very physical. We can't do that.
Yeah, cold Tuesday night down at Cold Blow Lane. Wow, that's a blast.
Oh, what a reference!
Cold Blow Lane.
And blast from the past, was that intentional?
Not really. No, I'm just desperately talking shite. Okay, I think that's rounded it up quite nicely. Before I start to blather on and empty the contents of my brain, I was just gonna say a bit of a because we haven't done a pod since that I was going to talk about Ronnie Moran because obviously he passed away, and I mean everything's pretty much already been said about what a great man he was for Liverpool, but just it's one of those where sometimes somebody's even without realising it, because he's always sat there on the bench, he's kind of a part of your childhood growing up of watching a game. And it's obviously very sad that he's no longer with us, but by all accounts a great man, and I always great stories about people like him and stuff like it. He just basically turned around to league winners the next season at the start of the season and say you've got to throw all your league medals in the bin and start again. And I just like the fact that someone like that, it didn't matter how many trophies you won to him, he's going to work you hard, going to make you run. And so just wanted to pay a brief tribute to him. One of the main memories I have of him is leading us out in the 1992 Cup final against Sunderland, because Souness was still recovering from his heart operation.
Was that 92?
Yeah.
Jesus, that's ages ago, isn't it?
I know.
Sorry for the Jesus reference.
No, it's fine. It's Good Friday.
Don't offend anybody.
Should be encouraged.
It's 2-0, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Michael Thomas scored.
A lovely goal, in fact.
Yeah, good volley, wasn't it?
Rush scored the second.
I can't remember that cup final.
It was a volley, wasn't it? For the
it was, yeah.
Sort of like quite a sort of a floated volley, wasn't it? It was like an acrobatic volley, but like floated over the keeper, sort of into the top corner.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas's.
Yeah, it was a really nice goal, and it was a good day actually. Not that we had many of those under Souness, but that was Rush scored, I think.
Were you wearing your green kit to that?
No,
it wasn't. Okay, because
I think Sunderland were wearing new way. Oh, I think they were anyway. I did look it up on Wikipedia. I knew Thomas and Rush had scored, and the other thing about the day was the referee was Philip Don. That's another name I remember from childhood. Wonder what he's up to.
I remember Monty Don, but I think he was on Garden as well.
Yeah, he wasn't a referee.
I don't think he's a relation.
No.
I think it should come to me to sort of maybe close the show if that's what we're doing. I don't know if you want to talk on relegation front or not, but. I thought I'd just close the show because congratulations finally to Mr. Mark Annigan and his partner Sean.
Finally.
For the birth of their daughter.
Yeah, she's here.
Weatherly.
Congratulations.
Thanks so much.
And also during the hiatus, we found out that Mr. Neil Monday now and his partner Zoe are expecting. So I don't know how much longer this is going to go on.
This has kettled your head slightly, hasn't it?
It has. I hate getting old as it is, and now everybody's having children. But congratulations also to Neil and Zoe.
Thank you.
So obviously in like 8-9 months' time, when Neil's baby's here, we could be just saying congratulations to Neil and Zoe and their baby coming, and also congratulations of Dan.
Don't say that on air because I have to fight the argument. You don't have to do that.
No. What it is fine. I mean, because we'll both have babies and you can run the creche.
Yeah.
I'll just look after your pets. You don't have pets.
I don't have pets.
You may have pets.
A baby is basically a pet that can also grow up and donate organs. Best of both worlds.
I've never known.
It's a wonderful way of looking at it.
Well, that's why I always think that having a dog's a good idea, because a dog lives
can't
to
donate organs.
No, but it lives to sort of 12, 14, and then you've got no responsibility again. You get your life back, don't you? Whereas with a child, I mean, you wouldn't want that to happen. It's the complete opposite. So, I think...
So Dan Laundy's getting a dog.
Yes.
You've had it here for the announcement. Dan Laundy is getting a dog.
Possibly in 9 months. I don't know.
They don't gestate for that long. Well, I think they do. Gestate for some time. But not for 9 months.
This isn't football at all anymore.
This is rambling
people
nonsense.
Have switched off.
You can't blame them. Principal people who've switched off is all of us.
Mm-hmm. But, all we've just got to remember that I've got a new daughter. Neil's got a baby on the way, and Dan is going to get a dog.
Yeah,
there you go.
3 men and 2 babies and a dog.
And Spurs are probably going to finish above Arsenal. So everyone's a winner.
Well, yeah. Oh, it's got to happen sometime, isn't it? So
there we go.
Congratulations.
It's the 50th time he's referenced it in this podcast.
Look, I'm going to enjoy every last minute of it because I doubt
until
it'll
the
happen
21st of May. And for some reason, Spurs get relegated.
I won't appear on this podcast again if things go wrong from here.
And going on the world, and to finish off, going in the words of Ronnie Moran, you might finish higher than us in the league this season, but at the end of the season, the league table chucks in the bin and we start again.
Throw your league placing in the bin, son. You've won nothing.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to finish, don't you? This has been the Scorer to Follow podcast on this grey Good Friday evening. Enjoy yourselves, whatever you're doing, and we'll catch up with you soon.